and welcome to a brand new episode of Happy Mum, Happy Baby, the podcast. Today we've got two guests. They're a couple, and I've been stalking you on your YouTube channel, and they describe themselves as an interracial, interable couple with a 17-year age gap. He is a sports pundit, a TV presenter, and a Paralympic medalist, and a children's author, and she is a flipping amazing singer. It is Ade Adepitan and his wife, Linda Adepitan. Hello! And we've also got a special guest, because Bolla is with us.
Yes,
Bolla.
Baby Bolla. Man like Bolla's here. He's trying to take over.
Yeah, he wants to be the star of the show. He loves the cameras and the action.
But it's funny, because he can't hear me, so all he can hear is you two talking, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think your voice is very soothing, so I think he'd probably like to hear it.
Yeah, we might record your voice and just use it to get into sleep.
Can you sing Hush Little Baby for us?
That's the one. I tell you what, whoever sings that Hush Little Baby or does the instrumental version is making dough from us. They're making bank. Because we're putting that on like 20 times. No, I think it's 20 times
probably
a day.
More like 20.
I'm constantly saying, like, whenever I'm stressed, Alexa, put on Hush Little Baby. Quick. Oh no, it's just going to turn on.
You've set off everybody's Alexas.
Sorry.
It is that thing, and also as a parent, you don't care how many times you've heard it.
Yeah,
you just,
if it works.
It's fine. If it works, it works.
Do you know the great one now is when we drive in somewhere and Bolla's in the back of the car and he gets stressed out, I put on Hush Little Baby, or Linda puts it on in the car, and we turn it up quite loud, and we forget we've got the windows open, and we pull up by some traffic lights, and we just got us with Hush Little Baby blaring out the car. So now I said to Linda, we just got to go with it. So we start nodding our heads like, yeah, this is a bad tune. Whoa, Hush Little Baby.
I mean, it's when he's not in the car and you're still singing to it. That's the thing.
That is the problem, yeah.
So, how different were your upbringings? Because, Linda, you were brought up in Scotland, right?
Yeah, I was. I think we were pretty much polar opposites, I would have said. Would you?
Yeah, we're kind of
different eras, different. I mean, yeah.
We're opposites in pretty much everything.
Yeah.
You know. I was London, East London. You're up in Edinburgh.
I think the only thing that's probably the same is that our parents are both Christian, definitely.
Yeah, I do you know what's fascinating is that it's fascinating, but it's also really cool is just even though our backgrounds are very different in the way that we grew up and stuff, our parents get on so well. And you know, our families, I think, really connect, and I think it's just because we probably share similar values.
Yeah, I think that's the
and it really it was just so nice. The first did Bolla just burped.
No,
it sounded like
just making happy noises.
But what was so nice is when sort of our families first connected. I think the first time they connected. Was when I got tickets for the opening ceremony
of the Olympics.
of the Paralympics. I was working presenting with Claire at the Paralympics, but I got tickets for Linda, my mum, my aunt, your mum.
Yeah.
Was your dad? Yeah, your dad was still here as well, and my brother.
Amoyle.
And Amoyle, my sister. And I was working, so I was totally focused on that. But there was something in my mind thinking, how are they going to get on? How are they going to get on? But it sounded like you guys got on really, really well.
But yeah, I had probably quite a privileged background in comparison to what you had growing up.
Yeah. It's different, you know. I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria, and you know our circumstances changed because of my disability. Because I had disability, my parents decided to bring us to the UK, or myself to the UK first, because they knew life would be much better for us here. And I guess one of the things that happens a lot that people don't kind of realize when you move to another country as an immigrant or whatever, you become the minority, is there's a bit of a downward mobility. So my parents were middle class in Nigeria. You know, they were both professionals. They were teachers. They both trained really hard. My dad was on his way to being a head teacher. But, you know, it's the 70s. Things were different then. It was a lot tougher if you were black, if you came from a different country to try and get a job and to make your way. So my parents struggled. It was really, really tough when we came here. So yeah, that was it's kind of slightly different to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you two meet?
At the National Television Awards.
Oh, swanky.
An after party that I'd gate crashed.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of gate crashed it as well because
The security guards didn't chase you.
Did they chase you, Linda?
Well, I don't think they noticed me. I was in a group of people. And yeah, they definitely clocked that we weren't supposed to be there and kind of moved towards us as we were dashing in. But it was one of those you just walk through as confidently as possible and hope that they don't clock that you're one of the people that's not meant to be there.
Yeah, well, I wasn't meant to be there as well because my agent, he had the ticket, but he didn't want to go. So he gave me the ticket, and some of the other agents at the agency, they were all there. So I went, and I was on a bit of a downer because I'd been trying to buy my first house, and I'd got rejected for a mortgage. So I was feeling pretty down, and they told me they said, "Oh, come to the National TV Awards and have a few drinks, and you'll drown your sorrows." I took that too far, as sometimes I can do, and I got really I enjoyed the champagne too much. I remember I fell down the stairs because I was coming down the stairs in my chair, and which I can do when I'm sober. It scares people a lot, but when I'm drunk, I think I can do it, and I can't. So I piled down the stairs and nearly took out Dermot O'Leary's parents.
Not even Dermot O'Leary himself, but his parents. That's worse.
Yeah, exactly. It was crazy. But then, once I was there, and once I recovered, and when you do that thing when you fall over. I mean, when I fall out my chair, it's the same thing. You style it out and try and pretend like, I meant to do that. I meant to fall down that flight of stairs. That's how we roll. It's rock and roll. Anyway, I got back into the chair and I was pushing around, slightly dazed. Then I saw, just sitting by herself, this beautiful ray of light with the most amazing smile. And I made a beeline to Linda, and we just started chatting, and it was just really nice. It was just really cool conversation, and she just had this incredible aura about her. And I kind of thought, I want to know more. I want to hang out more with this woman.
Yeah. And at what point do you reckon? So obviously you went on to get married. At what point did you start actually talking about a family? Did you talk about that early on in your relationship? Because you've been together almost 12 years now.
I think it's 11 years this year.
Yeah, be 11.
Although there's a chance you could be more accurate than us. Because we started in 2010, I think.
We've got baby brain. Baby brain.
Totally do.
Apparently that never leaves us, by the way. It's here for life. Yeah, all facts. Who knows?
But yeah, we got together probably about 6 months after that, after meeting. Within a year, we kind of knew that we were serious, but I don't think I really had imagined that we would be having a baby.
It's still, even now, it still feels surreal, that we have a baby. I remember when we found out that Linda was pregnant, just how mind-blowing that was for me. And then also leaving the hospital with a baby, that was it's just so weird. It's just so crazy. Like, now we're on our own with this precious thing.
Yeah. Well, was there a point when you two, decided, you know what, now is actually the time, let's start trying? Or was it a case of let's just see what happens?
Yeah, so I was going to say last year, but COVID has turned that last year into
That's not
2
really a
years
year,
or
is it?
something. Yeah, so it was the year before that. You'd had a bit of a rough year you'd lost a lot of people. Ade had lost a lot of friends, and, it was becoming really clear to us that you can't control life, because we'd been at a point where we'd always kind of wanted my career to be a little bit further along than it was. And there was definitely a fear for me of whether I could have a career or a baby type of thing. And I know we're in 2021 now and it should kind of be gone, but the music industry, I couldn't see many examples of people who had a baby and then gone on to have a successful career. Most of the people that you see in the music industry that are successful with a baby, they were successful before they had a baby.
Yeah.
So there was that fear in both of us, I think. And then it hit us that you don't have control over your life. Whether we could even have a baby. We'd had a lot of friends that were struggling. And so we thought we'd better start trying. And yeah. But Ade had gone to, where did you go? He'd gone somewhere that they had Zika virus. So we had to hold off.
Yeah, Linda touched upon it a little bit, but I'd lost quite a few friends. Linda had lost her father as well. And it was that sense of, because you have this plan in your mind of this, perfect timeline of life. You get married, Linda's career takes off, my career takes off, then we have a baby and everything's all rosy. But I lost a friend suddenly out of the blue, perfectly healthy. I'd lost two friends the year before to cancer. And then also someone who I worked with. I remember him. I was away filming, and I remember him saying to me that him and his wife were trying to have a baby, and he said it had turned into this mission. He said like sex was no longer fun anymore. It was kind of timings and when it was right and all that. And they'd been trying for so long. And I suddenly thought, and I suddenly started hearing other friends who were or not just friends, but other people who were taking a long time and struggling to conceive. And I just thought, well, maybe we're being a bit naive. Maybe we're just taking this all for granted, and we should just...
Yeah, you spend so many years trying not to get pregnant, don't you?
And that's the thing, isn't it? Until you start trying, you actually don't know if you're able to get pregnant. You have absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
But we had been considering adoption, and I was considering adoption before having a biological child. But yeah, it was that feeling that we just kind of instantly realized that we wanted it now, I guess. We wanted to try, but also we just wanted to have that that legacy, I suppose.
Well, the other thing is you can always get into that trap where because it will never be a perfect time. Your career will never be at that place where you're like, this is it. It's time, baby time. So you just kind of thought about it, and also. When I think about losing my friends, I kind of thought, it made me think, and this is going to sound a little bit morbid, but it made me think, if something was to happen to either of us, we'd have nothing to share that was...
Our love would be gone.
Yeah, and I just suddenly thought, it'd be... Let's do it. Let's stop messing about.
Let's try it. Yeah.
Let's try it. And as Linda said, I was off to the Solomon Islands to film the first episode of my climate change series, and I spoke to the BBC doctor, and she said, by the way, if you're planning on having a baby or anything like that, I think I'll hold off for a couple of months, for 4 months, because they have Zika out there. And so I was like, blooming hell. So that was something that threw a spanner in the works.
And we were going to hold on for my birthday as well. I was 30 last year. We were going to have a big party, and then And then we thought, right, let's get the alcohol out of the way.
Yeah.
But then coronavirus came, and it was kind of like, well...
Yeah, coronavirus came and we watched everything that was on Netflix. So we thought, let's make some babies. You know what I mean?
Netflix and chill. So when you were actually allowed to go with the go-ahead, 30th birthday at the way, Zika virus no longer a risk, did it all happen quite quickly?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was...
I had us like... I'm not a very patient person, and I was really scared of that, having the test and not being pregnant when we were trying and stuff like that. So I took it quite serious. We were both on the the Vitabiotics conception pills, and like
She's serious.
I stopped caffeine, I stopped drinking. I was like,
nice.
I want to get lucky first time.
Linda was serious, She was like, if she had flow charts and all sorts of stuff.
I had the app. I checked when I was ovulating and everything, but.
I can remember before we started trying, Tom was like, oh yeah, we're going to have all the sex. And I was a bit like, yep, on these days.
Yeah.
I don't know, we were...
Yeah,
I mean, that's private, isn't it?
Yeah. Kind of.
I'm still a virgin, so...
I've heard this about you, Linda. I have seen this on the YouTube channel. Yeah, your mum is so proud.
But it was funny because when you had what was the thing to do the test, the pregnancy test thing, and that thing, and I went off for a push because I was doing like some fitness around the park, and Linda was gonna check to see whether it tested positive, and I remember pushing around the park just. So nervous. I do like 2 or 3 miles.
Well,
around.
because I'd bled the day before, so we'd been trying, and then I was like, I think my period's come, and then the bleeding didn't continue the following day, so I was like, and I googled it, and they said that the bleeding could actually be a sign of pregnancy, and I was like, oh my goodness, this could be it, and then I couldn't hold back. I took the test, and then I called him and I was like, am I going to tell him now? And then I thought, no, I need to film this reaction. This is like a moment for the rest of our lives. So I just said, you need to come back now.
I was on for the fastest time ever.
That's what they need to do at like all the Olympic Games and the Paralympics. You just say, your partner's at home, they've got some news for you. Race.
Yeah, pace. Yeah, but I came back in. And Linda showed me the tab where it said pregnant, and it was just the most. It felt like this fountain of euphoria, relief, just amazement, wonderment, just happiness and joy. And it was also during this really strange period of COVID. We were all in lockdown. I'd had COVID as well. And then to just suddenly have this news was incredible. Absolutely
honestly,
incredible.
The clip that you guys shared where literally you're screaming and then those tears and the laughter. Like I feel like those who have been through that, it's just that it's literally everything is in that sound that you created, and it just brought back so many memories of times where I've kind of gone, oh my God, this is it.
Do you know what I like about that? It was a sound. It was there was no words or anything like that. I was just like high pitched squealing. I was so embarrassed.
You know what? I got a fright. I'd never heard that sound from Ade before, and I just like. That was actually when the fear set in for me. Like I was happy, but then I was like, okay, this is real now. And I was like, how do I keep this baby alive? That was like instantly. I was like, oh my goodness, here we go.
Yeah, that was the other thing as well. You kind of
it makes it so real.
Is it 11 weeks?
12 weeks.
12 weeks. So we felt we couldn't tell anybody about it until that point, and it was also suddenly you feel. We've got to try and keep this thing alive. We've got to keep this thing safe. And once we get past the 12-week barrier. Then there was it felt like there was all these markers, these points that you had to get through, you know, to know that everything was safe. And also because we couldn't go into hospital for checkups because everything was so different.
And you had a scare at 11 weeks as well, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a big scare, and I don't know, like it still makes me emotional thinking of it. It was just, I think I felt we were so lucky and all of that, and I just felt like something was going to go wrong. I don't know why, but I just was really, really scared. And I think possibly like just before we conceived Bolla, somebody that I knew, their daughter had a stillborn, and that was my ultimate fear, I think. So yeah, that kind of was sitting with me most of the pregnancy, probably until the third trimester. I think by the third trimester, like I started relaxing at last, like. But yeah, I felt just really tense and scared, and I wanted everything to be okay, and just wasn't. Well,
because of everything that going on as well, you had to go in.
Yeah.
After that scare, you had to go in and have that checkup on your own as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which must have been really scary for you. But also, Addie's sitting in the car.
Well, do you know the frustration? We thought maybe they might make an exception because it was a baby, and potentially we could lose the baby.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe they would make an exception and allow us to be together. So I went in, and got turned away. But what really frustrated me, and I had to keep like a proper like straight face, is after I'd gone in and got sent away, and then Linda went in on her own, and I'm like really just shaking and upset. Then one of the staff members asked me if they could have my autograph and a picture, and I was just like, oh no.
Yeah, so I can't sit with my wife right now, but you can get close and take a photo with me.
Yeah, it was.
There's a time and a place in it.
Yeah, it was quite frustrating. I mean, I know they didn't mean bad about or any harm from it, but it was just not the right time. No. And that period sitting in the car, waiting to hear from Linda was excruciating, because I was worried for her. I was also worried about Bolla, and it was horrible. It was horrible.
I think what kind of summed it up though was like both of us. So we're faced. I don't know if they allowed us or I just insisted that I would FaceTime him for the whole thing, and was it that she showed me something? I don't know, but Ade saw it on the camera and was like, "Is that our baby?" And you could see the woman thinking, "Well, whose baby do you think it is?" and I was still looking at it, not like smiling, because I was like, "Okay, I can see a baby, but how do I know it's alive?"
Yeah.
And she was like, eventually I said, "Well, why is it bouncing like that?" Because I thought it was floppy, and I was like, is that a bad thing? And she was like, "That's the sign of a healthy baby. It's jumping around." And I was like, "What?" So we really, I guess, were preparing for the worst at that moment. So it was.
Yeah.
It was euphoric all over again.
And there's so much about childbirth and pregnancy that you don't get told, and that you don't know about, and you sort of have to learn on the hoof. And it's weird because you almost feel a little bit silly and naive, because I think the lady who you saw when she did the scan to check up the baby, I think she was kind of probably thinking,
well, she must do it 100 times a day.
Yeah, she's like, what are these guys worried about? I mean, all these histrionics and stuff, and a little part of you feels, were we a little bit foolish there? But I don't know.
But also, I don't think so at all, because Linda, you had been bleeding.
Yeah.
The is it 111 that you'd phoned?
Yeah.
And they had said, they'd warned you that it could be a miscarriage, that because you were almost 12 weeks, it would be a very difficult miscarriage.
Exactly.
Essentially, at that stage, you are giving birth to your baby. So I think with all those things in your head as something that could be the outcome of this visit.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter how many people she's seen that day or how many people she's scanned. To you guys, that scan represented all your hopes and dreams for your future.
Yeah. You're right. But when you're in it, it's hard to even to think clearly, you know. And also it's in the height of COVID. So normally in a period like that, you know, Linda's mum would be with us, my mum would be with us, you know, I'd have my brothers and sisters, we'd be able to see these people and talk to these people and, you know, have that sort of support. But it was just us. It felt like it was just us.
Yeah, and even then it was kind of like we weren't allowed to be together, so. Yeah.
What was it like when you met at the car afterwards?
It was like, I think you were laughing and we were just in total amazement, because I remember you saying like he's going to be a basketballer or something. He was bouncing around so much and we just couldn't believe it. I was like, could you see how much he was moving? And Ade was like, oh my goodness.
It was in the scan, the baby was moving so much. I don't know what my mindset maybe is, like, oh, he's just chilling on a mobile phone in the womb or something. I didn't think the baby would move so much, you know?
And then I think we were like, let's go and get an ice cream. And then, of course, it was like, oh, yeah, everywhere's shut.
Yeah. There was nowhere to celebrate.
That's it.
Let's see if we've got a tub at home. Come on.
Exactly.
And how did you tell all your friends and family, and what were their reactions? Because obviously you couldn't go anywhere and see people.
Yeah.
So what was that like? Was it like, I imagine it was like a little beacon of hope and love throughout a very difficult time.
I think so. I think everyone was overjoyed because of that. Like, it was the best news most people had in several months. So
yeah, we were cheering. So we were cheering everyone up, and it was really nice. I mean, your mum was she didn't believe us.
She was in disbelief.
She just didn't believe us. and when you told you had to tell her like 2 or 3 times, didn't you?
Yeah. We got her. So she was the first person, well, that we planned to tell. I think we might have sneakily told somebody else first. But we had, I bought like a sewing thing for her. She's incredible sewer. And it was like this warm, snug, bunny sleeping bag for Bolla. And that was our way of telling her. So I hadn't realised that it was coming from Germany, and so it took forever. And so we were just waiting every day. I was like, Mum, have you had a delivery yet? And then eventually she opened it, and we had her on FaceTime. And she opened it and she looked at it and she was like, oh, that's cute.
Who am I making it for?
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, I'm pregnant. And she was like, really? I was like, yeah, really. She was like, seriously?
Yeah, she just couldn't believe it. Yeah. And then my mum, so we went to...
she couldn't believe it. Yeah. We got her like a chalkboard thing that said, my first grandchild will be born in, and then it had a countdown on it. So it was like 27 weeks, I think, at that point, and we'd drawn the 27. And she just is such a grateful person anyway. So we just handed her a present. She was like, thank you so much. And she opened it. She was like, oh, thank you so much. And she put it down. Yeah, and we're like, have you read it?
Yeah, I think my mum was probably thinking, what is this? What is this bizarre present? But she was nice about it.
She went, my first grandchild will be born in 27. And everyone else, like, because we had the whole family there, and everyone else just started cheering straight away. And then she just, you could see the penny drop. I'm so glad we were filming all this stuff, because good memories.
And the thing is, my mum has been waiting for a grandchild for probably about 20 years. You know, this is
I mean, closer to 30. Let's be real.
Yeah. From the moment she thought it was possible for me to conceive, she's like, "Come on, where's my next grandchild? Where is it? So yeah, when this news for her was just, she was. To say she was over the moon is an understatement. I mean, it's just. So happy. And when Bolla was born, it's just like the way when we first took Bolla to meet her. Yeah. My mum just took Bolla from you. She just grabbed him.
Here's my grandchild.
And she just like took him.
Let's go.
Yeah, and she was off.
See you later, Mum and Dad.
I've never seen her so fleet of foot. She could have out sprinted Usain Bolt.
And he was a heavy baby.
Linda, what was your pregnancy like after your scare? How did the rest of it go?
So the rest was, I think, pretty good in comparison to a lot of the pregnancies that I've heard. I wouldn't say I enjoyed it, but I did in the final trimester. I remember people would ask me, "Are you enjoying this?" And I was like, "Well, why would I enjoy absolute exhaustion, feeling nauseous, and getting heavier and heavier, having sore back, feeling heartburn, all that stuff?" I was like, I was so confused about how anyone pregnant could enjoy it until that kind of, till you start feeling the kicks, and until someone, you have the scan and it says everything's okay. And yeah, just as it got closer and closer, I just got more and more excited, rather than, everyone said I would be in pain in that third trimester carrying this big heavy lump around, I guess. But I managed to miss the waddling stage somehow. And yeah, it actually just felt really good towards the end. So,
Ade, what was it like seeing Linda's body change? And I know for Tom, he was continuously going, how do you feel? Because it's something that you can see, but you're not aware of what's going on in there and those feelings.
Yeah, it was lovely actually, and it was just watching this belly grow, and I really enjoyed listening to Bolla listening or sticking my ear to Linda's belly and rubbing her tummy, and I think she just you just handled it so well.
I think I was just lucky.
No, you did. You handled it so well, and you were just like, you were so thinking of Bolla all the time. And I'd never seen you. Well, I have seen you focused, but it was just like in a different way that focus, and it just made.
Yeah, I think in some ways I felt more relaxed because I'd been so focused on my career and stuff. I was like, I got to make this happen. I got to make that happen, and then it was permission just to focus on the being that was growing inside me. It felt like a really important job in itself. It was amazing, that side of it.
And Linda researches everything. She was constantly like, if we're going to get a pram, we're going to get a pram that works for Ade. That Ade's going to be able to push as well. If we're going to get an ergo sling, we've got to work, or a sling that to carry the baby. We've got to find something that works for you. And everything you were looking at, it was always looking
it might sound like I was thinking of you. Maybe I was being selfish and just wanting you to take the burden,
So that you weren't the only one pushing the pram.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was always that research, and it was always, just thinking, well, how's it going to work for Ade in a wheelchair? Yeah. And I never think about myself in that way. I'm so used to accepting that this world is not built for me and just making do. And she gets more angry about it than I do. She's like, no, it's not right. This has got to work. This has got to happen. And you've got to be able to push your baby, and you've got to be able to take him around. And it just I just thought, that's so nice.
But I guess the thing is, for you in life, you've managed to adapt your life so that it works for you. But then this is a whole new thing coming in that you have to learn. I guess for me and Linda, we see ourselves, we see in a very clear way how we are meant to carry out our parenting duties. But for you, it's another, and I know you would have to do that all the time throughout life with all your traveling and stuff as well. But you're having to assess those roles and adapt them and see how you can make them work.
You're right with that, and I think it's something that I've just taken on board naturally from years of experience.
Yeah.
But one of my biggest fears was always, could I be a good father in all the ways that an able-bodied person would be a good father? Would I be able to, will my child enjoy playing sports with me? because I can't play football standing up? Or, you know, would I be able to go for walks in the park with Bolla? Or if Linda isn't here, you know, how would I cope with him on my own? And I was always really worried. And each day I kind of pushed myself. The first time I went out with the ergo sling on my own with Bolla, I probably didn't tell you, but I was really, really nervous about it.
Don't worry, I could tell.
Really nervous. You know, I was thinking, what if I fall out of my wheelchair? You know, what if Bolla starts screaming and people start looking at me and thinking that I'm not fit to look after a baby? You know, all of that mad judgment that I'd managed to not worry about over the years because it was about me suddenly came back to me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely been an adventure, and it's been a learning curve, and it's kind of almost starting again for me in terms of my emotions and how I worry about people perceiving me being a father, you know. And I think the fear, maybe, I don't know whether it's just me, but I think the fear for a lot of disabled parents is, you know, that will be judged by able-bodied parents as not being capable of looking after our children.
From my own experience, I've got to say that whenever I went out with a newborn, I also had that fear. And I wonder if that's something that's a universal thing that most parents just don't talk about, that fear of my baby will cry, I won't be able to soothe them. Or I'll have to pull out a dummy, which for me was before having a baby, I was like, I'm not going to use a dummy. And then I had a baby and I was like, I need a dummy. You know, I'll have to pull out those tricks, and then people would judge me for them. And I think actually that's such a huge part of the conversation anyway, because we feel like we're being judged before we even step out the door. Yeah. And I wonder how that, you know, that is a thing that already exists. So when you're then in a wheelchair as well, I think, I wonder if you would have felt those things anyway had you not been in a wheelchair, but it's just magnified even more. And for you, that focus is because I'm in a wheelchair.
Yeah, no, it's a really, really good point. You know, I've got used to people staring at me anyway, and then I guess once now we have a baby, it's staring for different reasons.
Yeah.
And
because
so
they think you're a grown man with a teddy bear.
Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah. That's because the first time I went out with Bolla in the sling, he was wearing this teddy bear outfit which we'd been given as a present, and went to the local newsagent, and the lady in the newsagent, who sees me all the time, when I came in, she was like, "Oh, how cute, you've got a teddy bear." And I was like, no. And then Bolla stirred, and then she realized it was a baby, and she screamed. She went, "Oh, it's a baby! Oh my God, it's a baby!" And I was like, how could you? Why would you think?
That's my son.
Yeah, it's my son. Yeah. Why on earth would I be going out in the streets as a grown man
in a sling
with a teddy bear in a sling, holding it and cradling it? And she said, "Well, you don't know. People these days, they're into all sorts of things."
But she wasn't the only one that said that.
Yeah.
It was like, you would have thought, oh yeah, just one strange person.
No. When I was pushing through the park, there was another two ladies on a park bench. Went, "Oh, so sweet. Did you see that guy in a wheelchair with a teddy bear on his lap?"
And you heard him?
Yeah. It's
amazing how quiet people think they talk.
Yeah. Well, it's also the fact that, you know, sometimes people pull faces, and I look and they go past me, and I think, you do realise you're pulling this strangest face ever when you're looking at me, you know, but they don't realise it. But you know, you are right. I digress and go off in all these different directions, but you are right. I think every new parent probably has that hang up, you know, am I going to be good enough? Am I going to be judged? And, you know, that is the fear, to be in a supermarket with a screaming baby and to have hundreds of eyes looking at you, judging you, whether and questioning whether you're a good parent.
Do you feel like that feeling has got less for you? Like as you have done through life, you know, you've already navigated so much of it, and I would imagine what other people think isn't even a thing in your head. When it comes to parenting, there's this new element of that, I wonder how have those voices in your head got quieter?
I think they're easier definitely when I'm out with Linda.
Right.
But I haven't been out with Bolla that much on my own. And when I go out with Bolla on my own, I reckon they'll come back a little bit. But I'll be fine. I'll work it out in my mind. And also every time I manage to do something with Bolla on my own, I just come back and sort of give myself a little internal high five. I'm like, yes, I did it.
Yeah.
You know, that time when I had to take Bolla for his checkup. And so I had to get him in the car, into the baby seat on my own, and then get my chair into the car, take him to the hospital, then get him out of the baby seat, get him into the sling, and then push into the upper ramp into the GPs. And so, yeah, all of those, that time was like, I was really quite worried and thinking, oh, you know, I don't want to mess up here. I don't want to fall out my chair. I don't want to drop the baby, all of that. And that, of course, none of that's going to happen. It's just in your head. And when I did it, I was like so chuffed. I felt like I was on cloud nine. And what the other thing that happened is, whilst he was having a checkup, he then peed all over the nurse, which meant that I then had to change his nappy, and I changed his nappy in the surgery, and I felt even more proud of myself because we've got reusable nappies, so they're slightly more complicated.
Yeah.
So doing all of that, and I think the nurse was quite impressed. So I went out there thinking, you the daddy.
I love that, especially when you've had fears of, you know, what are you going to be able to do, what aren't you going to be able to do, and actually just doing it. You're doing it.
Yeah. It's about being put, when you're put in those situations, you deal with it. And I'm like, kind of, get over yourself, you know. It's not about me, it's about Bolla, you know. So just get over it.
Yeah.
So guys, talk to me about the birth, the big birth. How was that? He arrived early, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. I don't know what, I just thought, like, I just was so, we both assumed he was going to be late. Like, I was late, and we're always late. Yeah. So we just thought,
as
of course
humans, you're
Bolla's
just
going to be late. Like, of course he is.
Yeah.
And I'm impatient. I just thought, of course, like, we're going to be left waiting until, like, 42 weeks, and I'm going to be dying to get him out of there. And then all of a sudden, I think it was 38 weeks. And I was like, are these contractions? What is this? And
Linda being Linda, right, on the day that she gets the contraction. So we've been, Linda had decided to do this video where we...
Time-lapse thing.
It's a time-lapse thing where you would see it on our YouTube channel, where we spin the camera around and you document each week of having a baby or every...
The bump growing.
Yeah, or the bump growing. And Linda wanted to get the 38 weeks. And to do this, because it's a time lapse and because the camera spins around, it sees everything in the house. So we have, every time before we do this, we have to do a mass clear up because it sees everything. And Linda's she's literally about to go into labour, you know, and she's like, we have to tidy this house up. So we tidy the house up. She's getting contractions, and she's trying to set up the camera, trying to get the phone and everything ready. And we finally do this spinny video, and then suddenly it all happens, you know, within like a couple of hours. We're off to the hospital, aren't we?
Yeah. We were... So I was having contractions throughout all of that, It started in the morning. I wasn't sure what it was until lunchtime. And by that point, you know, it's lunchtime. I'm thinking, great, I'll have the baby by the evening. You know, this is perfect. But my waters didn't break until about 2 a.m. So you'd had a full day of contractions, and then we went to the hospital, and Bolla came at 6:36 a.m. But
it was a nice experience because in terms of I feel really bad. It's a nice experience, you know, because I know what it's like. No, I take it back. It was.
He's woken up. Even Bolla's shocked at that.
What we were worried about was that you'd end up going into the hospital, and we.
You know what it was I'd had a strep B test the week before, and I did have strep B.
Right.
I was carrying strep B, and they told us if my waters broke before I went into labour, that I would have to give birth in the labour ward, and I was hoping for the whole birth centre with a water birth and everything like that. So we were quite nervous.
And we thought, and if you did have to go into the labour ward, it might have been complicated with me coming in, so I wouldn't have been
Never seen it.
We'd never seen the labour ward, but. By the time we got there, the nurse just said, you know what, we're not taking you to any labour ward. You're having a baby here in the birth centre. And so...
They put the drip in me.
Yeah, they put the drip in. And I was able to stay with Linda whilst she went through the contractions in the bath. And then we thought they were going to kick me out after that, but I didn't get kicked out after that. I was able to stay the night. Yeah. Just to be with Linda. That was the main worry, that I was not going to be allowed to be with her and you know, go through that experience and share the birth together.
That was a big fear for me because, you know, I'd always been scared of labour. You know, everyone talks about it and it's like it's a necessary thing that you have to go through, but I wasn't somebody that felt that my body was made for this. I was like, my body is not made for this, and I don't know how it's going to happen. And the one thing that I thought would get me through was having Ade there. I was like, I know if Ade's by my side, I can do this. And so, there was a definite fear of him potentially not being there. Especially because he wasn't allowed to any of the appointments and stuff, and we had to fight for a lot of that.
And that's something that changed so much throughout the year as well. All the different, and with each different trust being able to do what.
Exactly. That I was a bit upset about that because there was a point where I realised if I'd chosen a different hospital at the beginning, because even that whole thing of when you find out you're pregnant, it's like, oh, well, what do you do now? You know all about the pregnancy test, but what happens next? So I called my GP and I said, oh, I'm pregnant. I didn't even get to speak to a GP. It was just a receptionist. And they said, oh, you just self-refer, choose which hospital you want. And I was like, well, how do I choose which hospital I want? Like, you can't just go and check them all out, especially in COVID times. There was two that we were choosing between. And if I'd chosen the other one, Ade could have come to all the scans. And that would have been so amazing. Because Ade just completely missed out on seeing those. And for him, you know, as much as he talks about, you know, talking to the bump, hello, I don't think it was real in the same way for him as it was for me until Bolla was born. Because I could tell the moment that Bolla came, the fear set in for Ade. It was like, oh my goodness, what do we do? Is he breathing? Is he breathing? Why is he breathing like this, you know? Whereas I had 9 months of like nurturing this thing in my tummy and when he came out I was like, oh my goodness, you're alive and you're well and we really have been this lucky. I need to stop worrying now. It's all good now.
That moment when I can still see it clearly now, the moment where he finally comes out and the nurse takes him out of the water and puts him on your lap, and then you've got these big eyes staring up at us.
I didn't expect to see his eyes straight away, you know?
He was looking at us and it was just like, oh my days, he's so beautiful. This is just amazing. And we were just both in love straight away. You know, and he had so much hair. He had so much hair as well. And
it's the strangest feeling a baby's hair under the water. It's like, what? What is this fur ball?
In fact, I can remember watching your birth story, and Linda, you're literally like, "What has happened? What just happened?"
Yeah.
And Ade, you're literally like, "I'm just so happy." Again, that emotion coming out of you, just pouring out.
Yeah, I think our voices went up like 100 pitches. Like it was like nothing else.
It's just the it is the most incredible feeling. It's like everything, every sort of emotion that you have all coming together, you know, the emotion of euphoria, the happiness, but also relief as well, that we've finally got there and we've made it, and that, you know, Linda's okay and the baby's okay. All of that was just pouring out, and then also probably emotion of what's to come, the journey that we're going to go through.
Well, and we're similar to you. So we were together a decade before having our first child, and there is that, you know each other so well, but there is just this shift that happens, I think, when you go through something that massive.
Yeah, it is. It was just, and then you're right. I did suddenly this fear and realization hit me that we've got this precious little being, and it's our responsibility, and we've got to keep it alive. You know, I think there was a sort of sense of a little sense of relief that we got to spend a day. Was it a day and a half in the?
Yeah, so because of the strep B, he had to be monitored for at least 24 hours.
Yeah, so I think we were there for almost 2 days in the hospital. So we had people constantly checking up on us and teaching us how to swaddle. I mean, swaddling a baby. I mean, that if I would never have done that, first of all, because I mean that looked like some sort of punishment. The way they swaddle them up, and then teaching you how to change the nappies, and because there was always stuff that would happen, and you think, oh, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Breastfeeding as well. That was tough as well. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was all really, really quite scary and a little bit overwhelming. And then when we were sleeping in the birth centre, the noises that would come out of the cot. I was like, is he going to make it through the night?
Yeah.
Is he going to make it?
Well, they say, like, sleeping like a baby. Babies do not sleep soundly at all.
They do not.
And they do this thing where they breathe really, really fast.
Yeah. And then they don't breathe at all.
And then they stop breathing at all. Like I was
intermittent breathing.
You'd be sleeping, and then there'll be a period where they're making noises, and you're like, oh my God, is he going to survive? And then you're like, he stops breathing, and you're like, that's good. And then you're like, oh, is he dead? Is he dead? Do you know what I mean? He's not breathed at all. It's such a roller coaster. And then when they release you, I'm saying release you, but when we're allowed to go home, you then suddenly think, right, we're on our own now.
Yeah. Well, and it feels like, I don't think it matters how long you've been in hospital. It feels like you've been in there for weeks, months, years, because your life has changed. So when you step outside, the world looks different.
Yeah. Everything's like doing it for the first time again. Yeah. Which I love. I think that's given me a whole new energy of like, oh, it's the first time we've gone out to the park. Oh, it's the first time we've done this. It's exciting. Yeah,
because you're experiencing it with a new baby, with someone new in your family. So I mean, I'm looking forward to so many things. We went on a road trip with Bolla up to Scotland, and that was amazing. Normally the drive up to Scotland can be a bit of a schlep, but this time with the baby, it was just a different experience. And we're going to go on holiday with Bolla. We're going to have our first Christmas. That's just, he loves lights. I can't wait for him to see the Christmas tree. He's absolutely fixated by any sort of lights. When he sees the Christmas tree, he's going to go bonkers.
And he'll be almost one by that point as well, won't he? So he'll really be engaged with it.
Yeah.
So cute. So how much has your life changed in the last 6 months?
Entirely. I think so. I mean, mine has. I don't know how... Mine has definitely changed entirely.
Yeah, it's it's almost like you've got a new set of eyes on and a different layer
Different purpose.
Yeah, different layer. Yeah, different purpose. Definitely. I certainly know the first time. So because of COVID, I hadn't been working the normal hours or traveling as much as I would have, which has been great because it meant I spent the first 4 months, pretty much every day of the first 4 months of Bolla's life with him. And then when I went off to do my first sort of filming day, I felt really sad. And I felt really like, oh no, I'm not going to be with them. What am I going to miss? You know, now it's a lot harder. I mean, it was tough leaving for long periods before, but I think it's going to be even harder, and it has felt even harder to leave, because I want to be with these two, you know, hanging out and having a laugh, even if he does keep us up all night.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always think when either of us need to go away, at least we get a good night's sleep. That's the only blessing, I think.
Yeah.
Is, well, actually, and then you do feel a bit like you again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. It's amazing how much better I feel when I've had a good night's sleep compared to, like, just things can get so out of perspective when you've been sleep deprived. Like,
yeah. If you could write a letter on parenthood, who would it be to, and what would you say?
I think I'd write it to my dad. Like, I would love to just let him know how it's going, and thank him for everything that he did for us, that he taught me, and how I'm going to instill that in Bolla, hopefully.
Yeah, I would do the same, right? It'd be to my dad, and it would be, you know, one, to tell him that we named his grandson after him. And two, you know, to say, look, we're doing okay, and this is, you know, thank you because you gave me this opportunity.
Yeah, and thanks for looking after our mums as well. You know, you made it possible for them to do what they did for us. You know, I think, not that would help anybody sending them the letters, but it would feel good to let them know.
Yeah. We end every episode with you finishing 3 sentences. So the first one is, being a mum or dad means. So being a mum means.
Never peeing alone.
Being a dad means?
Feeling a lot of love every day. I know it sounds soppy, but I do, you know. I look at these two and I'm just like, wow. Yeah.
Since having children,
Since having children, I
understand all the parents that came before, you know, all the parents that like post 100 photos of their children on Instagram and stuff, and you're like, geez, do you not do anything anymore other than your child? or that feeling, you know how it's all these cliches that you hear. I didn't believe them until it happened. So, you know, that the conversation about, you know, you'll never feel a love like it. I just thought it was something that people said. I wasn't really expecting it, and the love that I feel for Bolla, like, it grows every day, and it's really taken me by surprise, and the amount of happiness it's brought me. I mean, this is a very long-winded answer to a simple sentence, but...
It's more of a paragraph, Linda, I'll be honest.
Hey, I've got the mum brain, I'm warbling, that's what happens. But yeah, I think I just... Those cliches are all true.
Yeah.
What would I say? What was the sentence again?
Since having children,
Since having children, I didn't think it was possible, but I feel more excited and more passionate about life than ever.
And I'm happy when?
I'm happiest when he laughs. There's nothing, it's so magic, it's more than any, like, those smiles are like coffee.
Yeah, listen, I can't beat that, because the other day he chuckled. Baby giggles are the best. Yeah, I'm happiest when my baby giggles. It's amazing.
Amazing. Linda, I think that possibly was my favourite quote. His laughs are like coffee.
Yeah.
Which just goes to show as well how much we need it in our lives.
Except from when I drink it, he goes mad.
She had coffee the other day, and he was like Mo Farah running around the house.
It was wild.
It was insane.
Wild.
Well, guys, thank you so much. It's been so lovely to talk to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's been
Really
nice to
enjoyed
chat.
it. Yeah.